You might be thinking, like, is group coaching for me? How do I move from one-to-one to group coaching? And what are the ways that I can do this over time? And today's episode is devoted to this conversation. Inside it, I'm going to be sharing how to transition from one-to-one to group coaching, or at least dream about what's possible for you. And stay tuned to the end because I am definitely going to be sharing the number one mistake that I made when transitioning from one-to-one to a group model. I am so excited. Our 3-day live signature framework building series is about to happen. We kick off October 7th. And this is where my most successful students learn to create their signature frameworks. And I'm excited to bring it back this fall. And in this live experience, yes, it'll be me there live with you every day. You can actually ask live questions. I'm going to guide you through the first 3 steps that every effective and profitable framework should be built on. I'm going to help you make some key decisions around your framework, and I'm going to help you get massive confidence and clarity in the process. So, you're going to do this with an accountability group and me, so you don't feel like you're building and going through this process in a vacuum. And I'm just so excited to have you. So if you want to build your framework with me in just 4 days, coming up starting the week of October 7th, then head on over to amanda-walker.com/live to sign up. There's already action happening inside of the private Facebook community. And so I am excited for you to join all of us there. Hello, amazing coaches. Welcome to the Best Damn Coach podcast. If you're joining me on YouTube, cheers. I'm drinking coffee. It's early morning here and I am podcasting away. I've just really fallen in love with batch recording. So I know many of you are podcasters yourselves or might be thinking like, how do you keep up with the continuity of podcasting? I've really moved through different seasons of my podcasting journey where I record one a week and then move into multiple times a week. And for me, what's working the best is batching out amazing episodes ahead of time and sometimes even a quarter at a time. And so this is a part of our entire signature framework series that we've been really talking about. And I am just so excited that you guys are here. And we're going to be diving into a topic today that is hot, popular, and is really important for me to talk about because this is the vision I want you to craft for your long-term really business mindset. So we're going to be talking about how to transition from one-to-one to group coaching. And I'm going to define group coaching because it can look and feel a lot of different ways. And this is part of our signature framework series. Right now, as this episode is live, we're in the middle of our 4-day live training series where I've been teaching how to find your sweet sauce, your uniqueness in the coaching industry. And I'm walking through over 400 participants, by the way, how to build their signature framework. And so this is all culminating because we are doing something super exciting here and we are going to be opening the doors this Friday. So as you listen to this, if you're maybe listening on a Tuesday, you've got a few days away. If you're jumping in later on, the official date is October the 11th. Head on over to amanda-walker.com/lab because we are opening up the only live cohort of the Framework Builder Lab. And what I mean by live cohort is I'm going to be teaching you in real time. We're going to be meeting Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. starting October 30th all the way through December the 12th of 24. And I'm going to be teaching you and amazing coaches how to build your framework in real time so you can ask questions, so you can learn from others, and so that you have a community around you. So if you've ever been thinking like, I hear talk about the Framework Builder Lab, this is the time to join. I don't know if I'm going to do another live cohort. This is how I started it. And then over the past, because I haven't done a true live cohort, we've been in an evergreen model. I've had so many requests that I decided I'm gonna give it a go and see how I feel. How does it fit into my larger business model? So please come join us because it's going to be a powerful way to end your 2024 and create tons of momentum so you can rock 2025. So again, head on over to amanda-walker.com/lab to save your seat. So I love one-to-one coaching. It's like I love being in that intimate experience with my clients. And I also think that it's the fastest way to make money as a coach. I was teaching inside the Framework Builder Lab last week, and one of my amazing students in there was like, okay, I'm planning to launch this framework to a group of 10 to 12. And I was like, cool. Have you ever used this framework and done this work with a one-to-one student? She's like, not yet. And so my opinion about one-to-one and group coaching is that I really want you to get great at one-to-one coaching. I want you to use your framework to guide a client in the one-to-one experience to success, because you get to customize it, personalize it. There's this level of feedback that comes from one-to-one coaching that you don't get in a group environment, because you're teaching your framework to lots of different personalities and learning styles. And so sometimes when we come into the coaching world, people say, I'm going to start with group coaching. Like, I just want to do that. It makes sense. And that's okay. So anything I'm saying today isn't hard or fast. But what I am telling you is I've coached thousands of people. We've built tremendous success. And there are learnings that come from one-to-one that I just don't feel like can be replaced in a group experience. And so some coaches will maintain a one-to-one client base their entire journey. And that is fantastic. Like, that really works for them. And I still keep a few one-to-one clients because I like to keep relevant. I like to be coaching in a one-to-one environment. There's some people that come into my role that I'm just like so pumped to teach and to coach that I say, yes, I'll work with you. But a lot of times now the direction I pull my students is to group environment, because I have a different vision and season of my business now. I've built enough following. I've built enough learnings to be able to cultivate a group environment. And so I'm going to share, also stick around to the end, I'm going to share the biggest mistake I made through this process that I want you to avoid. And I think it's important to just think about, where do you want to be in your business 3 years from now, 5 years from now? What's your long-term vision? So if your long-term vision is to move out of that one-to-one into group, then I want you to start thinking about it now. I want to plant seeds of scalability now, which is something that I didn't do. And I'm going to talk about that at the end. But we think about one-to-one work, and I've recorded separate episodes about this, but I am not a fan of being in a time trade situation where it's like, I work an hour, I get paid for an hour. So side note is, you definitely should go back and talk about pricing. Go look back at some of the other episodes where I talk about pricing, because I definitely encourage you to be in a package pricing for one-to-one work. So there isn't this direct time trade, because they're not just paying you for your time coaching them. They're paying you for the investment you've put in learnings, your entire life experience, the work you do outside the sessions for your clients. And so over time, those packages, though, you might grow so much that you feel like you're just hanging out on Zoom, you're just showing up in a one-to-one in-person situation. And there's this grind that still exists around one-to-one work that you might feel it. And that's exactly how I felt really years ago in my business. I was like, all right, I'm seeing, at one point my caseload was 40 one-to-one clients. And I remember somebody saying, like, what's the cap? I was like, honestly, I don't know. So I'm going to figure out what that looks like. Well, I can tell you about 2022, I felt it. And I was like, I can't carry this on. I've got to make some changes. And it really invited me to like recreate the vision for what is now inside of my business, where we have the Best Damn Coach, which is our mid-ticket program, year-long program for coaches to come in and be profitable, right? I teach all of the coach business building things and the coach mastery things. And then we have the Framework Builder Lab, which is our opportunity to build your framework. And for us, it's evergreen. And when you join, you get an invitation to come be available in our Wednesday sessions as well, where I do coaching inside the lab. So much can change when you scale and you get away from that time trade of changing time for dollars. And that's really what I want you to think about. And to be frank, I just freaking love group coaching. I love being in a community, and that's for some people, and it's also not for some people. And I look at it over time, and I want to have a business where I can go on vacation and I'm still bringing in revenue. I want to be able to, my dream really is to go down to a place where I'm just, by the end of 25, I'd like to be in a place where I just am coaching a few times live in our group environments, and that's it. The rest of the time I'm spending on working in the business to optimize our funnels, to study student behavior, to study student learnings, to see where the gaps are. I really enjoy that. That may not be for you, or you may not even know that it's going to be for you yet. Because 5 years ago, I would have never thought I was going to be having this conversation with you, how much I love being the CEO and working on my business and growth of business. And so I just want you to really think about diversifying your income streams over time. And you're not going to be able to do that if you're locked into solely one-to-one work. And so I want to help you take that leap today. of what is that going to look like to get into that place. And so I just want to shift the conversation a bit into the power of group coaching, just so we can see the difference. We talked about how amazing one-to-one coaching is. It deepens this personal relationship. You really have much more control over the experience and the journey and the results the client's getting. However, when we move into group coaching, I think there's so many amazing benefits too. I was just on a call with a client inside the BDC, and she said, Amanda, what I didn't expect was to just get so many takeaways from listening to the other girls ask questions on our office hours. They ask you, you coach them, and then boom, it like totally blew out a sticking point for me. And so I think there's so many positives of being in group coaching, learning from others, but also you yourself having to show up different, because when you have a question, it takes more bravery to show up and ask the question. There's elements inside groups, like my students inside the BDC are constantly asking for each other's feedback. Many of them have become beta clients for each other. They're sending each other clients. There's so many beautiful things that happen in a group coaching environment as well. And, right, this is where a framework is so key, is you can't customize when you're teaching 10 to 15 or like 45 to 50 girls. The same thing is you have to be able to create a system that teaches the results and allow them to go implement and create a scalable model. And eventually there's just a one-to-one cap at some point that I really hope and pray that you reach, because that shows like you've created this demand and expertise in your business. And that cap looks different. For some people, that might be 3 one-to-one clients at a time. Like I mentioned at one point, I had 40. I don't recommend that. But moving away from that one-to-one has given me so much creative freedom I didn't know I was missing, because I was in client delivery so much and my brain and energy was going to that place. I didn't realize that when I stepped back from that, I was able to do what I'm doing now, which truthfully, my creative freedom has come from me to see, looking at the business, how I can scale it in different ways. And that's, I think, contributed wholly to the fact that our revenue is up over 60%. It's given me space to like just dream about what's next. What does that look like in 3 years, 5 years, both in my life and in my business? But like I said, space to work on the business and not in the business wholly. And sometimes I think that for many of you, this could look very different. Like some people don't ever want to get into that group model. Your goal might be to just keep increasing prices to get in a super high ticket model. And that is one way that you can scale, right? You can just serve less people at a higher price. For me, that's not necessarily going to be as effective because of the type of audience I serve. I was recently on a sales call with an amazing prospective one-to-one client, and they said, I really just want to do high ticket coaching. And so I said, well, tell me about your person who you want to serve. And I said, I get that you want to do one-to-one high ticket one-to-one coaching, but does your prospective client you want to serve, does that make sense for them? Are they going to invest 20 to 30K and they're serving basically like millennials starting out in the workforce making less than 6 figures? And so they were like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it. So it's like either we need to realign the coaching model or we need to realign the ideal client. And so when we think about scalability, these are the things that I really think that you could be asking yourself as well. So can we talk for a moment about types of group coaching? Because it's not just like one to many and that's it. You show up once a week and teach them. That is one option. So one option could be you show up, you have weekly calls, you're teaching them, it's a group environment. This could be done every other week. There also could be a hybrid where they have access to some sort of course content and you're supplementing it in real time with them and teaching them. It could be more evergreen style, which means they come in, they peruse at their own, and then you provide live coaching to support them through their own kind of independent study. Or you could be live launching, right? Where it's not independent study, you're teaching them content in a sequential order. And it could be also like we have in the FBL, it's just open live coaching once a week. I don't teach anything necessarily in there. They go in, they do the work, they come in to lab hours, and I support them. So there's lots of variations of one-to-one or one-to-group coaching or one-to-many coaching. It's about thinking what might work best for your people. If they're overwhelmed moms, it may be that you want to teach them in real time. If they're corporate professionals, they might want to go do the work and just come back and ask questions. So a lot of this is there's no right way. It's about thinking about your client, your life, your dream, and also figuring out what that might look like as well. So once you have that kind of idea of where you want to go with your group coaching, something that I really encourage is to doesn't have to be a huge leap. It could also be baby steps. So if I rewind back to the first time I ever scaled into a group coaching model, it's when I was had the FAN program. And the first thing I did actually is I decided that I was going to launch a group program and one-to-one at this, I was going to have both. It was going to be hybrid. And so they came in and they still got 2 one-to-one calls with me a month. And then we did 2 group calls. So this was my way of testing out, do I like this whole group coaching thing? And then I could also support them in real time one-to-one. And it gave me kind of the confidence to see that they were getting results in a group environment. And then the next cohort, I gave them only 1 call a month with me. And then by the 3rd time, I had pulled away all the one-to-one and it was solely a group environment. And that worked beautifully for me. So I just want to encourage you, that could be a great fit for you, is just knowing that you can take these baby steps along the way to make this happen. And it doesn't have to be like ripping off the Band-Aid, and you have to go hard and fast. And I think that is really what holds us back, is the fears that I mentioned. Can I really get them results? This is going to be a loss of personal touch. I don't know if I'm going to be able to meet the clients where they're at. And this is where, again, shameless plug, a framework is really important, because when you have that, then you can supplement ways to support kind of the outlying questions. If there's a framework that they're following, it's going to meet the majority, and you're still going to have fringe questions, and you can provide some sort of support for that, whether it's live coaching, whether it's community place where they can go ask questions. But this is why a framework is so important. This is why when you join the lab, when you come in with that intention, we can walk through some of these questions. You're like, I'm scaling. Here's my fears. Let's address them. And a great example of this particularly is one of my amazing clients. She's a confidence coach for teen athletes. So she works with females that want to go play ball at a higher level. And when we came together, she was in that one-to-one, just starting out one-to-one. And she knew really quickly she wanted to have a group program, especially because at that age, bringing girls in community is so powerful. And so but her fears were the same. How am I going to customize this? And so she kept feeling trapped in this one-to-one group environment. And it was testing it first, right? Inviting a small group of girls to test it. And I love this. I love the way this feels. I love the way this looks for me. And so over time, she's moved solely to a group environment, which was perfect because she had recently married when we first, or was getting married when we first working together. Now she has 2 kids, and she's so grateful that she really thought this process through and had this group environment that she could double down on for different seasons of life. And you might feel that too. You might want lots of one-to-one coaching right now. What will it look like in a few years? And vice versa. Maybe you get into group coaching and you're like, but I miss my one-to-ones. And so it's really thinking about that, designing with the end in mind, which is really my biggest mistake that I wanted to share. I had a mentor say to me early on, Amanda, your business is growing. I love it. I could see it. What are you going to do if 100 people want to work with you tomorrow? And I kind of pushed off the question, I'll figure it out when I get there. And I didn't take that to heart. And the problem with that is he was so right. Now in hindsight, I look back and I definitely left a lot of money on the table and opportunities, because then I had this wait list. I couldn't serve as many people. And so there was this cap that existed. And so I'm sharing this episode today with you because I want you to think and dream about what's possible. And you may not be in a place yet where you're really there to make a group program. But if you build that framework right now, you're setting yourself up for long-term success to do that. And you're going to only increase the potency and the mastery of the results that you deliver in a one-to-one format. And I feel so grateful today to say, I called him up recently and I was like, hey, do you remember when you asked me this question? He's like, yeah, kind of vaguely. I was like, can I tell you that right now, if 1,000 people wanted to work with me tomorrow, I could take all 1,000 new clients on, and it would only take me, there would be no additional time. They could just come in, and that is such an amazing place, right? And part of that is the model, and part of that is having now 5 team members behind the scenes. That is so powerful. And so today is about dreaming, and today's also about thinking about what does moving from one-to-one to group coaching look like for me. And if you are thinking about this, if you don't have a framework, even if you're just starting out and you're like, do I really need a framework? you do. I guarantee it's going to help you feel so much more confident and clear about who you're talking to, the results that you deliver. You're not going to stay stuck in this analysis paralysis or failure to launch place. And so right now is an amazing time to come join the lab. Again, we start October 30th, go through the 12th. We'll be together Wednesdays, 9 to 10:30 Pacific time. If you cannot make one of those sessions live, don't worry. The replays will be provided. But I'd love to have you sign up at amanda-walker.com/lab. So I will see you again next week, and we will continue our discussions around framework building. And until then, go coach 'em up.